Hey class, I'm here to talk about, give an intro to the week 2 discussion and the content online. So first one, there's a couple TED Talk videos. One is by Paul Connolly concerning digital humanitarianism. We will have a discussion on that, so please be sure to watch all these TED Talk videos and then incorporate them into your discussion. There are two by Clay Shirky. One is on how social media can make history, and the other is on cognitive surplus. So our discussion, the first on history is in the video it talks about we're going into a new, almost a revolutionary time period with the internet, and what are the other revolutionary time periods and how impactful was that change? So the equation is that the internet is having just as big an impact. And the key tenets of that are, in the past there would be like a broadcast method of communication or a point-to-point method of communication, but with the internet it's like what we call a full mesh in the network world, meaning any-to-any connectivity. And that really opens up things. You may have heard the term peer-to-peer. Well, what is that term? What does that mean? How does that really change communication? So in the discussion, the first is discussing the role of social media in your life. How has that affected you? Is it something you do every day? You may have grown up with it and it just seems natural. If you are sort of my generation, it's something that came along much later. I wrote a lot of letters in the day. Literally letters that were mailed. I know it's a foreign concept to many of you, but yes. I have a stack of them that I wrote to my wife. That's interesting. So social media, how do you deal with separation? How do you deal with family with social media? The next area of discussion is digital humanitarianism. What does that mean? Well, Paul Connolly is talking about disasters and how do we help people in time of disaster and what sort of technologies are used. As that moves to digital, what does that mean? Be curious about your thoughts. It's sort of, implied, we go digital. Then everyone has connectivity and communication and it's all grand and we can reach out with my smartphone if I'm in trouble. Well, with these hurricanes that just hit or have hit or earthquakes or whatever, what happens if the cell phone tower infrastructure gets wiped out or you lose power? What then? Will your smartphone work? If the towers aren't working, is your smartphone going to work? What do you do? What should we do? Think about that. And finally, cognitive surplus. What is cognitive surplus? Well, it's as we get, let's say we have more productive lives in work or whatever. There are times of the day that we have spare time. What do we do with that time? In the past, a lot of people will watch television, for example, which is sort of a lean back, consume media, that sort of activity. Cognitive surplus means that the consumers, are starting to become producers. Much like what I'm doing right now. I'm producing video. And as more people produce video, more viewpoints get out there. And to tap into that productive, people want to create. They want to be part of a larger group. Do it through digital media. Well, if you can get enough like-minded people together using the surplus time they have, and then they contribute. Well, what can you do with that? So I think that's sort of what he's talking about. And can that change the world? What's the deal with that? So I'd like you all to, and those 3 questions, give these sorts of thoughts consideration. I'd like to hear your comments. I'll be asking you questions, and let's have a great discussion this week. Thanks.